I compliment my staff. They're working very hard. They work hard every day at attacking this problem. But it's certainly an alarming trend that we're seeing in the drug world. Today I've taken the opportunity here to present some awards. The plan initially when I took office is to work towards holding an annual awards banquet every year. COVID crushed that opportunity for us this year. So I've chosen today's meeting to hand out some awards for some of the great work that our staff has done over the last year. I'm going to start with talking about Deputy Peter Frieden. And Pete is here today, and in a minute I'll have you come up, Pete. But in June of last year, Pete responded to a medical call of a person who was having an arterial bleed. And we do provide tourniquets to our staff, and Pete responded, and he applied a tourniquet and was successful in saving this gentleman's life. And because of his quick actions and his calming actions, he was there and stayed for the rest of the medical resources to get there, but continued to stay there and apply pressure to a very serious wound that would have resulted in the death had he not taken his quick action. So for his life-saving actions, Pete, would you come up? I'm happy to present this award to Deputy Pete Frieden for his life-saving efforts, and I have a life-saving pin as well. Congratulations. Thank you. All right, I have the next set of awards is for the same incident, and I want to talk about the teamwork that goes on at the Sheriff's Office. And again, I have a great staff. It makes me look really good. I can't take credit for the great things that these people do. So anyway, back in November 20th of last year, we had a frantic 911 call, and to listen to the call was chilling. The person is basically just screaming, and our dispatch team was able to, through technology, determine the location, and it was a vehicle that went into thin ice and crashed into a lake. And the victim would have surely drowned had it not been for the teamwork effort of our dispatch and also Deputy Ben Hall. So with their actions and also Cushing Fire responded as well. And next month I'll be handing out awards at the Cushing Fire Hall for the firefighters that assisted in this as well. We have a very happy ending on this call. The gal was rescued. Deputy Ben Hall had to go into icy water, chest deep, and he's a big man. So to go into chest deep water for Ben is quite a deep area. So anyway, for their actions and their life-saving, I'm happy to announce that they're getting awards as well. So if you three could come up, Christina Kuznicki, Jen Tober, and Ben Hall. Okay. Ben, on behalf of the citizens of Polk County, I thank you for your efforts. Here's your award. Jen Tober. And again, for the teamwork here, these two are working in dispatch. This 911 call comes in. They find out the location through GPS and the cell phone call. Ben Hall, who could have been anywhere in the county, but he was within 3 minutes response of this call. So things happen in life for a reason. You know, you have right place at the right time. But the teamwork for Christina and Jen was amazing to get the resources there so that we have a happy end. So, Christina. Congratulations. And then I have a pin for you as well. Mechanical failure already. Thank you. And again, it makes my job really easy to surround myself with such great people. But the citizens of this county are very blessed to have this kind of work. And oftentimes law enforcement, we sometimes they don't hear from management enough when they do good things. They only hear from us usually when they make mistakes. So we're really trying to step up and provide the positive reinforcement because these people do a tremendous job. So thank you.
Okay, that's always nice to see. Anybody have any questions of the sheriff in reference to what he's been talking about? Good job. Okay, thanks a lot. ATV, UTV committee. We'd like to have an update on what's happening and what's going on. Doug, have you made any progress, or are you just in the process of getting organized, or what do you recommend for the committee that's been established by the county now?
We're just in the organization stage. We need to discuss with the team when we're gonna meet
Okay,
and get started, I guess, is what we need to do.
okay. What do you guys have to say? Have you got any recommendations on a,
Oh, I do a lot of riding in a lot of counties. Last week, I was in 7 different counties riding on roads and trying to figure out what would be the easiest way to make a map for the town, for the county, that would be a separate map from our snowmobile association. And try and get it more detailed than a lot of these counties got. The issue we find when we're riding in all these counties is we don't know for sure, because they either don't have maps or they're so old that townships have moved on and opened up more roads and stuff. So what we're going to work to I'd like to try and get a map strictly for ATVs in Polk County. I'd like to go take a plat book map, or a regular plat book, and go to each township and have each township mark what is not open. Then maybe we can go back to a publisher and get a big map of Polk County of every road in the county. And then when we make that map, we would put those on there, because I don't think there's going to be much changes. I think everything's going smooth in our county. So closures or open, maybe we would open some. We're still trying to open up a couple state roads, but this is going to take until next year to get this, because we got to go to every township with one plat book and take their page, and you mark, which roads aren't open. Well, it's going to take a while to get through the townships that way. I think that'd be a good start for the county, and then we can get it down. Well, we can get it into the sheriff's department, get it down to the tourism, get it out to people where people are coming, so they could come in and say, okay, we'd like to ride here, where can we ride? And the villages, we got to go into the villages too, because if they can mark on theirs what open and what isn't, it would make it a lot easier, because where I ride, I mean, I was in Rusk County, I was in Washburn, I was up in Sawyer County, I was over in Barron County, Rusk County, what else was it down there? St. Croix County, just last week riding. And there's a lot of places on there, what kind of maps they got, you're just guessing. Now since they went with the state and opened up each road coming into the county or the township, you don't know what roads aren't marked, because before we used to mark each road with an arrow or slash through an ATV sign that you can't go on here. Well, now the townships don't do that, or our 2 clubs don't do that anymore. So it'd be better to have just an ATV map set up for just the roads in Polk County, and that's what I think I'm gonna try and push with our association or, with the two clubs to get going on it, but it's gonna take us probably all winter to get around to all the townships and villages. That's one of the projects, and then we're still trying to figure out how we're gonna get 87 opened up, which we talked to you before. Trying to get into Balsam Lake somehow on 46. Get from the other side of the lake over to here. And Rick had some other ones down there. He's not here today. I thought he was going to be here. He had all the information we had discussed, and he didn't show up. So he's got some stuff down in Osceola that he's working on. So that's basically what we're doing now. So, and I looked up in the state of Wisconsin, and I'm trying to find out in Polk County, but in the state of Wisconsin, there's over 400,000 ATVs registered in the state of Wisconsin. And I'm going to try by the next meeting to get how many are actually registered in Polk County. Because there's a lot of people that have them that don't register. They just have them on their farms or they don't register. But it'd be kind of nice to see what we have in Polk County right now. So that's what I'm going to work on for the next meeting.
We got anybody designated in staff that you can work with and help you? 'Cause we need that.
Well, the hard part is to get to all these townships. You know, we're just gonna physically have to drive to each one, try and find when their board meetings are, you know. I'm just getting started on this, trying to figure out, I don't know how, I mean, a lot of you guys are maybe board members on some of the townships, you know, so we can go through you to get that done. I don't know how if you guys could help us on that, or maybe if I could get a list from you guys, who to
Do you have a green
contact
book,
in each
Mitch?
township.
I can get one.
Well, there certainly are lists.
Who the board members are.
It's in the book, for one thing. I think that the town's association chairman, yeah, it's in there.
Okay,
But
well,
the-
if you could get me that, and then.
If you would go-
Would
if
the
you would go-
villages be included in that book?
Yeah, they
Yes.
are. Yeah.
Okay,
But you should also go to the town's association. And they have a regular meeting. And they have, Osceola Town is the chairman of that group. And he's very ambitious young man. And he would certainly help you, with the towns themselves. I'm sure he would.
Here for Shabana.
oh,
Delivers.
thank you.
Good.
They also have the times of all the board meetings on them
Oh.
for each town
Okay,
and location.
I'll take the one for Rick.
but yeah, I think it's something that would help the county out itself if we could get just an individual map on this ATVs. We only actually have 4 ATV trails, so that's not a big issue. But these roads are an issue. I mean, we don't have any trouble with it, but I don't want to, if we can get a map that shows that you can't go here to the riders that are out riding.
Okay. The other thing that I have, and I want to check with Vince, you are now a sanctioned group in this county. I believe that would require some organization in reference to a committee chairman and someone to report to this committee, I think the way it was established originally. Establish your meetings, and I think that if you get sanctioned and get organized and give the administrator, at least in this group, a program of your organization, dates of meetings, what type of things, like you've just been talking about, what types of things that you want to accomplish as you're progressing, and the accomplishments that you've achieved be reported back to us, and so that we can get the proper recognition or help of any kind that we may be able to offer. But I think that's would be the procedure, would it not, Vince?
I would think it would be helpful if you have meetings, if maybe, so all of you don't have to come, but maybe you come and give an update or report. That would also be good to communicate to other committees, not unlike the PTAG committee. One idea, and I'm going to speak way above my head, my expertise, but the idea that comes to mind is having an app on your iPhone that would have those maps. So that as you're going, it's almost like GPS. You could say, if I'm on my ATV at the corner of I and 46, which way can I go? And that might, and again, that's not my expertise or knowledge, but I think that's something that the PTAG group was going to discuss as a potential project, is how do we put all our trails on some app that you could download, and then you would have that information in your hand.
Great. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Polaris Command Ride has that now. You just have to be on, you have to be on the phone and then drive the trail. That's Polaris Command Ride. So it's about the same thing. I believe that's what it's called, right? Polaris Command Ride.
I know a lot of us use when we ride is our GPSs, because you GPS on the road and you go where, but it doesn't tell you if it's open or not. You can, we don't get lost, but we don't know if it's a trail or a town road or a county road that's open, because like Barron County is a nightmare.
Yes, I've read.
It's really a nightmare to ride in, because there's certain, you'll be going and
Yep.
trails or the roads are closed,
I understand that. Doug?
I was just going to say, after the meeting, we'll take a minute, see if we can set up when we can start
Okay,
the meeting.
sounds good.
Just, I think you ought to get it organized so that you can more effectively follow through with
Right.
us and through Doug and
Okay.
the board
We
here.
could maybe get a meet, maybe sometime before your meeting, and then
We'll set
with
up-
you, Doug, and whoever wants to come. Okay,
The chairman of the TAG committee has already contacted me so that she's asking that we stay coordinated. And I said, fine, we're going to have a get together and we'll discuss it.
And of course, Doug is on that committee.
Right. I forgot to bring that up to her, so that you're going to be updating both committees anyway.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good. Does anybody have any questions about the progress or what's been going on with ATVs now? The group. Okay, hopefully we'll be moving along and help you get some of the answers you need to. Okay, CJCC.
We are finishing up the business plan, which goes to the committee, I believe, this month. We are out to market with the job announcement. We're running it for 2 weeks. We're going to see what kind of candidates we get. And if we are not happy with that pool, then we'll move it to an open until filled position. But we're actively searching now.
How far in there you're going?
We've gone statewide and region-wide with it. Into the Minneapolis market, statewide, and the law enforcement market, and into the Madison market.
Good. And that's a big factor, to try to get somebody in charge.
And that is the key piece, all the work we've done rebuilding the business plan, rebuilding the policies and the philosophies of it. Now it's getting the key person in there. And then we'll touch on the business piece in the budget section next.
That'd be great. Okay.
Is that a matter of posting, or do we have to actually pay for ads, for what you mentioned?
Oh, we're paying, we normally pay for the newspaper ads. Now we're using WileyNet and some other law enforcement resources to try to get into that alternative justice market. So we're trying some new ways to market it as well.
Thank you.
Good. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Review the budgets. What have we got for that?
All right, I'm gonna share my screen with you. You all each have a handout of this as well. Your handout starts with these slides, which we'll go through, and then are the draft budget templates that you guys are used to with the reporting from last year. Those budget templates are exclusive of the staffing plan and the staffing changes that go in there. But your overall numbers are correct from the final income statements, with the exception of the staffing plan and then anything that the board decides to propose between October and November. We're going to go over highway, then law enforcement, then DA and clerk of the courts, and then CJCC. Notable budget items from highway, and then I'm going to let Mo go into some detail with his capital plan. There's a deficit for fiscal year 2021 that shows on your budget sheets, but that's for federal aid projects. So that comes out of highway fund related to the federal aid.
That is the County Road M project for our federal share of that project that goes next year. We do set money aside each year for that account. Depending on the year, we set aside $100,000 to $200,000 dedicated to FAS projects. So that is the deficit that we see for next year's budget, is completing that County Road M project in our share.
With the exception of that, presently Mo's budget finishes balanced with no additional levy. That may change a little bit with the staffing plan, but we'll see how that shakes out.
The only other big thing is then, as we moving forward into the next year, the division concept, it's allocating salaries to the different departments that are sharing resources and stuff, so we're accounting for that salaries properly. Is with that, there is no increase to the full-time employee count by the administrator, so our budget's balanced and set with that, with the exception of the FAS project.
And this reallocation, just so you all are aware, we're doing this countywide over the course of the next year to move to a divisional accounting structure, which was the next step in the division model, is to transition to divisional accounting. Hopefully we'll be there for fiscal year 22.
And then these slides, I had Chad put these in there. What this shows is this is our working CIP project as we list our projects for each year going out to 2026 now. And what I wanted to point out here is I set aside $1.1 million or $1.9 million for our road betterment system. And I try to ensure I reach that mark or go over it a little bit each year just to keep our GTA funding stream steady and rising. But what I show you is on the left here, as you see 2020, we touched 31 miles. 41 miles here accounts for that as the FAS project. County Road M increases that. But as we move down with the same funding at 1.9, we go to 27 miles. Next slide. We stay at 27 miles, we drop to 26. 2025, we're down to 19 miles. And we're down to 20 miles in 2026. What that means is I need to start allocating more money towards road betterment for the years to get our system up. Otherwise, our PASER rating is going to fail. So in the next coming budgets, I'll be increasing that road betterment line by $100,000 to $200,000 each year to keep our miles up in our road programs. You'll be seeing that in the near future in next coming budgets.
So I think that concludes highway. I don't see any fundamental changes in highway in the budget this year. I mean, that is good to point out because you're looking at how we allocate future revenues. You're going to have to redirect more in that in order to keep his mileage up. His staffing plan, I think cursory, I've been through it cursory now. I don't think it's going to significantly shift his levy draw. I think it'll pretty much stay where it is. All right, law enforcement, there's a number of notables I wanted to go through. Just as an FYI, as you look through the budget sheets, you're going to see a slight surplus in your present budget sheet that will disappear with a significant deficit after the staffing plan gets added in. We've shaved expenses, but the revenues have fallen because of COVID, both in the jail category, in some areas as much as 65%, and then grants like the school officers with the schools being closed. That's going to have an effect in 2021. We're trying to accommodate for it. The administrator is making a recommendation of adding 1 FTE to create a full-time recreational patrol deputy. Presently, the sheriff's office has a road deputy who works rec patrol when the shift schedule allows, but sometimes that may be 30% of his or her week. Sometimes that may be 1% of his or her week. It just depends where staffing is. I think it was around 2010 in the cuts. This was one of the headcount reductions. The approximate cost of salary and fringes is $100,000, give or take on benefit election. Shouldn't be more than $100,000. Approximate cost of an additional vehicle, because if you add a deputy, you add a vehicle, is $35,000. The plus side to this is there is a reimbursement from DNR. You get reimbursements through the UTV grant, through the snowmobile grant, and through the water safety patrol grant. They all range, but you can sum total them out safely in the 75 to 80% range. They've been on the uptick in the past few years for some reason. Now this is, for the vehicle, you get 80% back over a 5-year spread of the cost of the vehicle. So over 5 years, you get $52.50 per year for 5 years. For the enforcement time, you get up to 80% depending on whether it's water safety, UTV, or snowmobile. Right now, the chief deputy is estimating 75% of the time could be enforcement time. You got to take out traffic time, time to help, with off time to help with parks, because part of this is going to be to help the parks and environmental services with, patrolling our park systems, patrolling our forests, that kind of stuff. So we think the projected reimbursement for the FTE is $60,000 for the first year. So we're looking at 135 outlay, taking back about 28,000 of it for the vehicle over 5 years, and taking about 60,000 a year back in recovery from DNR. So it is a 1 FTE add, but it's majority grant funded. Anything else you want to say on that, Chief?
No, our hope was to expand it not just to enforcement, but to help out parks and trails and, expand the job description for that position, so.
Law enforcement's faced with a federal unfunded mandate that goes into effect in 2021 for incident-based reporting with NCIC. That's a significant administrative burden on the sheriff's office. We're not recommending the addition of an administrative assistant. What the sheriff's office is doing is taking one of the vacant corrections officers' positions. They found some efficiencies and they're going to reclass that as an administrative assistant. No increase in FTE, depending on benefit elections. It's either slight budgetary savings or budget neutral. Capital expenditures are both from the Asset Protection Fund, which I think most of the committee knows how that works. The departments allot a certain percentage of their levy dollars each year to pay for their asset purchases, and they repay them over the life of the asset. The sheriff's office has requested, the administrator is recommending a patrol boat replacement for the boat they use to patrol the waterways. I think a top end estimate is $40,000. This is also reimbursed by DNR at the 80% formula over 5 years. So if it costs $40,000, we're looking at getting $30,000 back over the course of 5 years from DNR. The equipment reimbursement is pretty straight. You get 80% of the cost spread over 5 years. Just depends on whatever they set the rate at that year. It could be 75, it could be 85, it could be 65, whatever the state allots. Purchase of new laptop computers. As you guys are probably aware, we have laptops in each of our cars. Deputies pretty much survive on them. That's how dispatch communicates with them a lot. That's how they take reports. We pushed this off last year because of the other capital improvements. Typically, these are replaced on a 5-year schedule. This is year 6. The estimated top end cost is $100,000. That also comes from the Asset Protection Fund. Again, that'll be an administrator's recommendation for the budget. Anything else on that, Chief?
No, the computer's a big one. Our computers currently are failing. We are sending them out. In the last month, we spent 5 in to get repaired at a cost of $500 to $1,000 a piece. So they are at end of life.
District Attorney's Office, you have their top end sheet in there. There's no significant changes of note. There'll be a slight adjustment from levy for the staffing plan, but nothing significant. Clerk of the Courts, they've got a couple factors affecting that deficit you see at the bottom before the staffing plan. Their guardian ad litem fees have increased. What they have to pay guardian ad litem attorneys for court. And they also have a reduction in state aids, much the same as the sheriff's office does. Their overall cost went up last year, as you know, with the addition of the court commissioner time. So it's driven up a little bit. The administrator is recommending a capital project to install audio and video in courtroom 3 to match courtroom 1 and 2 to deal with the COVID situation, and it's something we never did. It's about $75,000. That actually comes out of the building's capital budget. I want you to be aware as it affects the clerk of the courts. And there's no FTE increases recommended by the administrator. CJCC, notable budget items. We are increasing our receipt for grant funding. Last year, we got about 60,000 and change. This year, we're getting 159,000 in grant funding. So that's an increase. We're about $95,000 increase in grant funding, which is a very good thing to offset the cost of it. Charge for public services, what we charge the participants for the tests and all that kind of stuff, are about twice over the last 2 years what was anticipated. So we are estimating 27,000 in revenues as opposed to 14, which helps fund the program and make it self-sufficient. A big change we made last year with the construction of the bathrooms in the jail, that was with donated money from the former CJCC, is we are now paying the sheriff's office jail staff, paying their time for the drug testing in the jail, doing it in the jail. And we take those funds and move them from CJCC to the sheriff's office, which the sheriff's office then uses to fund jail programs, which had no funding before. So it saves us money that was going to a private contractor, and we're reappropriating that money that the CC was spending before to help fund the sheriff's office programs, which also benefits the CJCC. The deficit funded by the levy, right now, without the staffing plan, estimating the staffing plan, I estimate it'll be no more than 70,000 after I add the staffing plan is in. I'm hoping it's closer to 50 to 60. It's kind of hard to tell because we've never had a true budget with the CJCC. Once I get that stuff entered this week, we'll know. But I do want to say the CJCC staff has done a good job of driving up grant revenue and keeping that program going. One change in there is 5% of my salary and fringes will be allocated to the CJCC under the divisional model for the time I spend supervising it and administrating the CJCC. So there'll be an uptick in cost there. But we may be able in future years catch some of that back in grant funding, which would be a value for us. That's just a shift of levy dollars from HR and DOA over to the CJCC for my salary. And then the administrator is recommending no increases in FTE for the CJCC this year. Remaining what you have is what you've seen in the past. These are your draft budget templates where each department head has filled in their descriptions, their missions, their desired outcomes, their performance indicators. You have the revenue and expenditure trend lines and bar graphs for the last 3 years, and then the forecast 2 years in the future, as well as your different levels of expenses. And then once the staffing plan is added in here, and we do the final shift of levy, which is now calculated, we'll give you your final numbers. But I don't anticipate, with the exception of the sheriff's office, for there to be much of a shift in levy dollars. I think that'll be the biggest shift this year. Any questions from anybody?
Johnny?
Just got a question, and I don't know, maybe, Mr. Chair, you know something about it. The town of Farmington last night had a check for $37,000 for some COVID funds. Wasn't anything apparently that they applied for. Apparently all the townships are gonna be getting the money. It said something about, for tables and chairs or to be spread out or something, they could buy something.
Yes, sir. We have there's a thing called Routes to Recovery that's part of the CARES money, and every Wisconsin county and municipality got some of it. Polk County shares $723,000 up to that. Now we have to justify that. By November 6th is our filing deadline.
This 7,000, would part of that go to the townships, or is that just to the
That's
county?
ours. And then what the townships don't spend or don't get a lot, hypothetically, if we spent all of our $723,000, which right now I don't anticipate, we could tap into the stuff that the townships and villages don't take.
So your town of Lincoln will be getting some of this,
Well-
Mr. Chair?
They haven't called me. I have no idea. I haven't heard that we are going to be receiving anything yet. I heard, we got information back some time ago that they were going to be distributing some funds, but they haven't told us anything yet. I haven't got anything.
They were quite surprised and pretty happy. Apparently it could be just put in the general fund. There was
Well,
some-
it has to go through that. But I don't know how they're expecting the accountability.
But our county will be getting,
So Polk County, that's what I'm pulling up for you now. Polk County has been awarded $723,000 and change. I'm pulling up the true dollar. And then we have been accounting since day one of COVID. We've set up special funds to record, just like we did with the storms, what it's costing us. And then during the final submission deadline period, we'll submit all those eligible COVID funds, or what we believe are eligible for reimbursement, just like we've done with the storms. It may move faster than the storms, but it may move slower, but it'll work just like the storms. We're now getting in the big money for the storms. It may be like that. So trying to see.
Ed, you would say that the township, like Farmington, would need to submit justification, and I don't know that the township has kept records like we did.
Yeah,
So you'll need to go back and say, what other expenses have we incurred due to COVID? And you could do that up to 37,000 or whatever you receive.
Actually, it's the first time I've seen them give a check and then you account for it later. It's not hard, it's like this expense account, the guy that loved the hat,
so would Mr. Chad, would some of it be based on a population criteria, or?
that's how they allocated it, was just like they did with the FEMA PA grant, is they do it on a per cap criteria release. And so that's how they broke it out. Polk County's potential share, if we used all of it, is $724,046 just for the county government. And then if you look at our villages, I know we had Village of Luck, I think got 70,000. I think the Township of Luck got like 17,000 if they needed it. These are rough numbers in my head trying to remember. But each of our towns and villages also got allotments separate from our 724.
Besides the 7,000?
Besides, yep, right.
That can go into the general fund?
Well, It goes into the general fund if it's a COVID eligible expense that you incurred in the reporting period before November 6th. So if you bought stuff like we've recorded all of our personnel time spent on COVID related matters, we have meetings, we record our time spent on those meetings. You can submit that and get reimbursed for it. So there's potential for the county, no promises. There's potential for the county that in addition to the COVID expenses, direct COVID expenses like buying sanitizer that we've incurred, we're going to be able to offset levy dollars when we spent budgeted levy salary time working on COVID. Instead of levy paying for that, we can submit for this 724 pool to help the rest of recovery money pay for it, which then, to answer your question, puts those originally budgeted levy dollars back in the general fund. Does that make
I hope
sense?
you're a darn good calculator.
We're doing pretty well with the storm, so I think we're going to do okay with COVID. So we're at 94.5 reimbursement with the storm. So if we get close to that on COVID, we'll be doing pretty well.
Yes, yes.
That's all I have on the budget, if there's no questions.
Okay, anybody have any more questions in reference to the budget? Well, we've got some potential action on Resolution 4620. The funding grant, I don't know if you've read the resolution or not, it's attached. It was for my computer one.
You have number 13, Chairman. You skipped number 13.
Oh, that's not unusual. Oh, yeah, that's right, the bridge, the rural project. Go ahead.
Just real quick with you, in your boxes, there's the proposals for the 4 more federal projects that are going in there that we need to select design engineers for. The one is County Road B up in Atlas. That's the bridge in Atlas. That's an 80-20 split for design and construction. The County K bridge is the same. It's a replacement bridge. It's 80-20 for design and construction. The bridge in Alden on Church Road, that's a deck replacement. That's also 80-20 design in that, design and build. The other project is County Road F from Amory to Duranda. That's a pavement replacement project. That's 80-20 on the construction side of that one only. We pay for design on that one. So that project in your proposals, you'll see there's actually a hard number for design on those. So we get a bid on that one because we're paying for the design ourselves 100% on that to move that project forward quicker. So I think there's 7 or 8 proposals for each project. There's score sheets for each one of them. You guys have been through the process before. Grade them. The projects you like, grade high. The ones you don't like, grade low. I'll combine all the scores for the selection process for the federal government. And then make sure the due date I have on there is October 15th. If you can get them back to the highway department by then. There's one proposal. I think it was Westbrook, the firm of Westbrook. They have one proposal, but they separated out all 3 projects in their one proposal. All the other firms have an individual proposal for each one, so that's why there's so many right there. But and then I'll be having the town of Alden also grading the proposals for the Church Road Bridge, so they'll have input on the selection process for the firm down there. But if you have questions, contact me later on.
You know how many RFP bids we have in here?
There's 8 for each project.
Oh, holy cow.
So there's 32 proposals you need to go through. Each one,
Yeah.
so,
We're lucky to get 4 or 5.
right. So we have a good bridge selection that I keep up to date on who wants to bid our projects. And the only one that has a hard number on design is the County Road F1. Otherwise, they're just qualification proposals on who can do the project. And if they have good knowledge of the project, you have to weigh out whether they get the scope right.
You must have screened them all so that these are the recommended qualifications.
Those are the ones, yep. And they're listed on your score sheets on what each one you should grade on 1 to 10 scale.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Earlier this spring, I'm over on H, going by highway. You were working on that bridge to lift it, to straighten it.
Yes,
Is that going to be replaced eventually, or is that job, you accomplished what you wanted?
it accomplished what we wanted. The sufficiency rating of the bridge doesn't meet the replacement criteria yet. Next spring's April inspections will get us closer to that number. I'm looking 2 cycles probably for that bridge to make the program.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll go to resolution 4620.
I guess I can give you guys the overview on this. There's a fire and police protection fund that the state of Wisconsin set up years ago. You pay for it on your cell phone bills, on your home phone bills, all this. You see a tax charge on there. You can argue who did it, but years past, the state raided that fund to balance the budget and pay for other things. That fund was supposed to be used and is intended for the build out of transitioning from copper telephone lines to laying fiber and those kind of things, to expand broadband and fund the purchase of next gen equipment or call center locations so that they can upgrade to the next generation of 911, where people can send text messages, people can send video messages. Doesn't rely on standard lines, a lot of improvements there. Polk County presently has next gen capable equipment in our dispatch center because of the foresight of the board in the sheriff's office. But the structure around us, the copper lines and things like that, are not next gen compliant yet. What this resolution does is urge the state to stop allocating that funding elsewhere and allocate that funding to the next gen build out project statewide so that Wisconsin can finally become next gen 911. It will also open up grant funding for counties like us, even though we already have the equipment. That equipment's expensive to maintain and upgrade, and it changes constantly. You know, right now we pay $1.2 million over the course of 10 years to Motorola. We just entered in that last year to keep our equipment up. It will allow for grants for next gen upgrades and upkeep and that kind of stuff. So it could benefit us down the road. But I think next gen 911, many states already have it. It's a huge benefit to citizens. And it's what that pot of money was intended for.
That's something we're gonna have to lobby our legislators or something.
Right. And that's what this resolution does, is urge them to use that money for that and not other things.
This is a lobbying resolution. I think it was the WCA that alerted us to it to say, hey,
That was
and
my
we wanted to
question,
cover
yeah.
it because if the legislature is in session or when they meet to discuss this, the last 4 bullet points, the 2 whereases and the 2 therefores, pretty much state it. And that is, there's a fund created to help pay for these types of equipment and upgrades, but those funds haven't been going to that. Instead, it's been going into the state general fund. This is simply saying, hey, state, we want you to start spending it where it's supposed to be spent.
We had something on our Zoom talking about it.
Does anybody feel that don't have enough information to act on this? And will we move it right to the county board with our recommendation or
Yeah.
approval, one of the 2? Does anybody feel comfortable enough to, with the information that we have, pretty much outline what we just heard?
Self-explanatory.
Pardon?
Self-explanatory.
I think so.
So what you need is,
Motion. to
You need a
move
motion to move it forward? I can
With-
make that motion.
Second. Motion made and seconded to move it forward to the county board with our blessing and approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
that'd be unanimous.
Okay. You gonna handle that then, Vince? Do you have that moved forward?
Yep, we'll put that on the county agenda and
Okay.
then we'll send the letter to the state legislature.
All right, sounds good to me. 2020 work plan, there isn't much on it except budget stuff at the present time that I've been seeing. Does anybody have any comment or motions in reference to that? Okay, matters for the next meeting. Hopefully we'll have some stuff from the ATV group.
Yeah, can we just we'll put that on every month?
Good.
And then we'll give you an update
Okay,
on what's going on. How's that?
sounds good to me.
Looking at history, Mr. Chair, you should also develop your 2021 work plan. And that was on last November's. And then also November meeting will be your time for your technical budget amendments to the proposed capital budget.
All right, we'll have them added then. Anything else that you want to put on the plan?
November 12th is when we pass our county budget.
November.
The 10th?
Uh,
Well, it's that Tuesday.
Yeah, let me look at the date. Dates are,
From the public.
it'll be the
hearing.
10th. So you'll meet on the 5th, the week before. So you discuss technical budgets at that time.
Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion